As we promised, we are going to follow up the latest developments in Gaza, whether on the ground or diplomatically. And we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Mahmoud Ayoub, former commercial minister, to speak in more details about these developments. Well, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you and to the viewers.
Thank you. And let's start with the Egyptian efforts to mediate this time for the release of two civilian hostages who were there with Hamas, and they are two elderly Israeli women, and thank God the efforts exerted succeeded and the two women returned home yesterday. Well, sir, how do you see the Egyptian movement in many directions? I mean, since day one, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is holding extensive talks with the regional and international leaders. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry is in a diplomatic marathon, as we are going also to continue covering his participation in the UN Security Council ministerial meeting, which took place yesterday in New York.
It is a positive attitude from Egypt and from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, not to mediate but to reach conclusion. So it is a positive mediation to release the hostages and by the Hamas, and also at the same time to stop the aggression of the Israeli forces on Palestinians in Gaza. It is what we call ethnic cleansing, what is happening now, and that is why we say the Egyptian role is very important and vital in this respect, and it is gaining support, international support, and positive results until now.
Now, sir, let's read some of the points which were mentioned in Foreign Minister Shoukry's speech in front of the UN Security Council ministerial meeting, as he first declared the sorrow of Egypt with the fall of more than 5,000 Palestinian martyrs in the past 2 weeks since Israel started its bombardment of the Gaza Strip. Well, again, he renewed the Egyptian stance regarding the full rejection of targeting civilians and targeting civil institutions like hospitals, religious institutions like mosques or churches. How do you see starting with that?
This is a strong stand which is by Egypt in this respect. We are clear in that respect that Egypt is supporting the civilian efforts by the Palestinians, and at the same time is against every military operations against the civilians, whether mosques or churches or hospitals. We have seen that more than 5,000 martyrs in the last few days in the northern part of Gaza, and they are trying to transfer the Palestinians from the north to south Gaza and then bombarding them again. This is annihilation, and this is ethnic cleansing, as I mentioned. That is something which is abhorred all over the world when we see demonstrations in the Western countries demanding stop aggression on the Palestinians in Gaza. This means that the world community is against this aggression in Gaza.
And in fact, sir, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry was echoing what President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said in his speech in the Cairo Peace Summit, which took place here in Cairo last Saturday with the participation of more than 35 leaders and from the whole world, leaders, top diplomats, representatives of international organizations, and so on. President al-Sisi said, "This is a time where our humanity is tested. It's our humanity versus our interests. And if the interests prevail or won this fight, then let's say that we can expect more cruel and horrible things to happen." Foreign Minister Shoukry also said that we are against targeting civilians from both sides. Women, children, elderly people should not be at all involved into military actions. How do you see the stance of Egypt, whether presented by the head of a state or our top diplomat?
This is a positive stand by the head of the state and the foreign minister, stating clearly that we are against aggression on civilians. These civilians, when we see that more than 5,000 martyrs are dying in just a few days, this means that it is unjust war against the Palestinians in their own country. These are occupied territories, and Israelis should stop their aggression now, not tomorrow, because otherwise the situation will deteriorate and will spread to other countries in the region, which is very fatal to Israel itself.
Yeah. Also, an important point which was mentioned in the speech of our top diplomat, he said that some voices or some powers right now are just occupied with exchanging blame. Who should be blamed? Whether it's Hamas with the offense on Gaza, or with the inappropriate reaction from Israel and the collective punishments to the Palestinians. He said it that clear that there is no time to waste in exchanging blame. It's a time to interfere practically on the ground to stop the bloodshed. How do you see this point, sir, detailed and clarified in the speech of our top diplomat?
This is a very important point. It is a practical way, a pragmatic approach to solve situation, complicated situation in Gaza. Aggression should be stopped. The inappropriate aggression by the Israelis and unproportional attacks by the Israelis on the civilians in Gaza is something which is abhorred by the international community, and not only Sameh Shukri, Prime Minister Sameh Shukri, but all the Secretary General of the United Nations have been very clear in condemning the Israeli aggression on Gaza. That is something which should be stopped now, not tomorrow.
And unfortunately, this was met by very, I don't know how I can describe it, let's say inappropriate manner from the Israeli side when they criticized Antonio Guterres himself, because he just said the truth that this is an accumulative manner. Even if we are against what Hamas did on the 7th of October, but we cannot deny that this is an accumulation of what's going on with the Israeli suppression, with the Israeli siege of the Gaza, with the blockade imposed on its 2.4 million people. Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri also said so. Without a political solution, when the Palestinians are going to find a light by the end of the tunnel, this is going to be something very positive. But suffering this political deadlock is not going to lead to anything rather than more violence, and this vicious circle is going to continue. If you want to elaborate on that.
It is a vicious circle of violence and the counter-violence. When this disproportionate aggression, and what they say more than aggression on the Palestinians, this means that the violence will spread to other parts. This is one thing. Other thing, that international community is clearly and loudly condemning the aggression in Gaza and on the civilians who are caring about 2.4 million living in a big prison and for 57 years now, and still they are deprived of the basic needs of life, that is water and food. They are even deprived of the right to move from some place to other in their own country. So the world is against what is happening, and Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri has been very clear in showing that Egypt is against aggression in Gaza by any side of the two sides.
And also against the liquidation of the Palestinian cause. Also, Foreign Minister Shukri echoed this, which was repeated by many of the leaders who participated in Cairo Peace Summit, topping the list President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and this was repeated in the speech of Jordanian King Abdullah II, and with the speech of Mohammed Shaya al-Sudani, Iraqi Prime Minister, who said a very important point in addition to what I've said. He said, if the UN Security Council resolutions were implemented on the ground, we were not going to be suffering today, or we were not be witnessing the developments of today, referring to the Israeli aggression and the illegal settlement activities, unfortunately continuing by the ground by successive Israeli governments. Sir, I want to know more from you.
It is very clear that Israel is trying to liquidate the Palestinian cause, And this will not happen because there are Palestinians in their own land. This is one thing. Other thing is the fierce resistance by the Palestinians mean that they are determined not to leave their own land, and they are not ready to accept liquidation of their cause, which is there since 1967, and they are sticking to their own land, and the international community should be clear in condemning and also in depriving Israel of any assistance or help in this respect.
Sir, there is a very big obstacle on the road of political settlement. Because as far as I know, that the West, the US, are not going to be involved into trials to find a political solution except after an approve or an announcement or an admission by the Arab side that Hamas is a terrorist group. They do not want to be involved into a political settlement except after this admission. And of course, this is something which is illogic. I mean, there's a great difference between being a resistance group, legally resistant group against occupation of their own land, and a terrorist group. A great difference between fighting for the land, for regaining your land, and to be a terrorist attacking others' lands. How do you see this dilemma? How it can be settled on the ground? Or there is no way it can be settled on the ground, since it is one of the topics which are still being discussed among leaders?
The settlement is very clear. The Palestinians should be given their own land and live freely in their own land, and aggression should be stopped. Israel will not be able to liquidate the Palestinian cause by this aggression. They have been doing that since 1967, but until today, Palestinians are resisting, and they are strong resistance and strong against the aggression, and this will not be the end of the Palestinian cause as the Israelis or the Netanyahu, the present Prime Minister of Israel, wants. It will not be the end. It is the beginning of more fierce resistance by the Palestinians and also the international community. When we see 30 countries in Latin America are expelling the Israeli ambassador from their own country, when we see demonstrations in London and Paris and in Berlin, this means that the international community is against the aggression in Gaza, not against Hamas, not against the resistance by the Palestinians themselves.
And the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, as of October 23rd, said that clear and in numbers. 12 hospitals and 46 primary care clinics in Gaza are no longer functioning. So on the ground, we are not talking about weapons, we are not talking about depots, we are not talking about warehouses, we are talking about even the pregnant women who are going to deliver next month, they are not going to find a place to deliver their babies there. How do you see this in front of the civilized world, who should think about the lives of civilians rather than anything else, if they are gonna prove that they are really civilized? Between two brackets, by the way.
Yes. The civilized world, or what is called civilized world, is acting in an uncivilized way regarding the aggression in Gaza. When you speak about pregnant women who are unable to deliver because they are deprived of the electricity and of food and of water, this is something which we have not heard about in the recent history of humanity. What is happening now is brutal aggression by the Israelis on Palestinians in their own land, and it should be stopped now, not tomorrow.
Sir, regarding the humanitarian aid and regarding the convoys which started since Saturday to reach our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and the Egyptian efforts to continue with all contacts to guarantee that the humanitarian aid, whether it's food, it's medical supplies, whatever, to the Palestinians. How do you see the Egyptian role in that, and the volunteers of Egypt coming from all over Egypt, by the way, and particularly the youth, to make sure that this mission is accomplished on the ground?
It is a positive and humanitarian effort which is exerted by Egypt now. When we see that many NGOs, even from Canada, are sending medicine to the Palestinians via Egypt, via the Egyptian Red Crescent, this means that the community itself, the Egyptian community, is against aggression, and they are doing their effort, they are doing their best to help by sending these convoys. But for sorrow, not all the convoys are able to enter Gaza from Rafah, and just a part of it, and a lot of convoys are waiting to enter Gaza with the minimum, that is the water and the food and medicine for the people of Gaza. So what is happening from the Israelis is just aggression, clear aggression against humanity, not only against the Palestinians only.
Well, Ambassador Ayoub Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Before I leave you, just Google this name, Nabila Nofal. Nabila Nofal. Google this name. You are going to find a week-old baby, the youngest martyr in Gaza. And it was written this way: I lived for a week and I returned back to heaven, not to witness more violence, not to witness more suppression, not to witness more torture. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.